Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival?
Could Donald Trump, as president, assassinate a political rival with SEAL Team 6? I just think this is amazing. So Tacopina withdrew from representing him on both cases.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer. Today we're reacting to, we're giving you an update on Trump and give you an analysis of a bunch of stuff that's going on Trump's legal front. And it's, with the help of our content genius who's behind the camera, Michael Rivers, my son, and your curator of everything we do here on the channel. But before we get to that, this is brought to you by eforms.com. Now we're changing it up a little bit, same company, but eforms.com. Eforms.com is a very effective way to still remotely do business. If you have any kind of document, it's a repository basically for documents. Here's the reason why you use eforms.com. If you hire me to, say, draw up a particular business agreement or something like that, I would charge you a ton of money. Like, even my grandma goes to eforms.com. She did her last will and testament on there, and I didn't find this out till later on. I get the gold in her teeth. But eforms.com is a very effective way to get some things done and not have to pay a high-priced lawyer like myself. You can get a business agreement, power of attorney. You can do just about a bill of sale. So anytime you need a document that's enforceable legally against another party, go to eforms.com. My grandma did. You should too. eforms.com. Good way to avoid lawyers. All right. So today we're reacting to Trump. Now let's just start with the most recent thing that he did last week. He did a couple things, but he sat up and he gave his own fucking closing argument. He who represents himself has a fool for a client. He wanted to give the closing argument. I mean, it's just so stupid because you're going in front of Engoron, and it's really not for him. It's for public consumption, really. But Engoron said, okay, you can give your closing argument, and these kind of clients just are pains in the asses. But the judge in that case, Engoron, said, you can give your closing argument, but you got to comply with the rules. So, in a closing argument, you have to confine your remarks to the facts of the case and the argument contained within. You can probably make a few little side comments about the motivation of the prosecutor, this and that, but Trump would not agree to those guideposts that the judge set up. And even as lawyers both lawyers on both sides are limited, to those guideposts. They're called rules of evidence. And in your closing argument, you're limited to arguing the facts of your case. You can't just talk about anything you want to fucking talk about. You just can't. And so Trump wouldn't agree to that. So the judge says, then you can't. If you're not going to agree to the rules of evidence, you can't agree, or I can't agree to let you give the closing argument. It'd be dumb for him to do it anyway because he doesn't know what he's doing. So then his lawyer makes another pitch and says, can he get up and just say a few words, So he gave him 6 minutes, basically. And then they broke for lunch, and all Trump did was just do character assassination against the judge, against Letitia James. This is a political witch hunt, blah, blah, blah. And the judge cut him off just before lunch. So 6 minutes. And, and guess what? Reporters are in there. Reporters are writing it down. People hear that he got up and spoke. So it's a win for him in that sense. But it's not going to sway the judge. I mean, nothing he said was going to sway the judge. In fact, one of the things the judge said at some point compared him to Bernie Madoff, a smaller scale, which is really kind of what it is. Okay, so that's on that case. So now that, the closing arguments are in, and, Letitia James is asking for $370 million. Oh, and barring him from doing any real estate in the state of New York. That really is the death penalty. That really is the death penalty for business for Trump. He'd be done in New York, and I don't know. He's no longer on Forbes billionaire list, So I don't know how much money he actually has. It seems like the bulk of his resources are coming from donations, but I don't know that for sure. And so now we fast forward. So what's he got going on this week? Well, he's got that Jean Carroll case. Now, remember last fall, he tried that Jean Carroll case where she accused him of defamation. And they found him in violation of the law, in defamation. And when they did that, she was awarded $5 million. This is what's so stupid, because then he repeats some of the same shit that he said, just like Rudy Giuliani did. Why would you do that? Well, guess what? That gives her another swing at the ball. So now Joe Tacopina, he's a lawyer in New York, and he represented Trump in that Jean Carroll case. Well, he was all slated to do everything. He was supposed to be on the criminal side of that the Manhattan DA document case, the business fraud case, and he also was supposed to represent him in the Jean Carroll case, because now they're just going up for damages. I'll tell you about that in a second. Trump made more statements, and he was already found in violation, so it's just a matter of what these additional statements, how much more than the $5 million is he going to get. So Tacopina withdrew from representing him on both cases. It's unclear as to, why he withdrew, but you want me to speculate? I'll speculate, because that's what we do here, in the open forum. We call it Criminally Reacts. We react to news. One of a couple things. One, he lost that case, so I'm sure he's sideways with Trump. I'm sure he's sideways with Trump. Number two, I bet he's not getting paid, because when you lose with Trump, you don't get paid. And Trump doesn't give a shit who he pays and who he doesn't pay. He just wants you to show up. And, he never paid Rudy. Rudy was asking for $20,000 a day. Fuck. Did he get paid? No, he didn't. And he's got a history of not paying lawyers. He spent over $40 million of these donations that he's getting. Stop the steal. Anyway, so Tacopina is probably really happy that he got out. And the reason, one of the things that about a guy like Trump is going to be just an absolutely impossible client to work for. I would never want to be Trump's lawyer for a lot of reasons. I mean, the issues are all interesting. And he's got some defenses to some of this stuff, but he's impossible. He's absolutely impossible, because he won't take your advice. He won't agree with your strategy, and he'll challenge you on everything going down the pike. And he'll want you to do things that are not only probably unethical, but are just impractical and against his best interest. Looking at that, you'd think that would be enough. But no. Where was he last week? Now, Trump attended the Court of Appeals argument. What was the Court of Appeals argument about? Well, in the D.C. case, the January 6th case, they filed a motion to dismiss the case, saying that he's got immunity from prosecution. Let's listen to what the Court of Appeals had to say.
Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6?
He would have to be, and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal prosecution.
Okay, so did you hear that? That was a Court of Appeals judge asking, and one of the things, now when you file an appeal, you file a brief, and it's based upon the record that you created down below in the district court. And then when you get there, they'll have questions for you. And based upon their questions, you can kind of see what they're thinking, and if the judges don't have any questions, you're sort of fucked. But if they have questions like that one, could Donald Trump, as president, assassinate a political rival with SEAL Team 6? I just think this is amazing. You think your behind's going to look good like this? You're damn right it will. With Step 1, they're amazing. They're amazing high-performance underwear. Am I wearing them now? You're damn right I am. I wear high-performance Step 1s when I'm in the courtroom, when I'm on the ski slopes, if I'm running. And here's the thing. They are made out of a viscose material derived from organic bamboo. So guess what that means? You don't sweat. They have a Lycra panel in between your thighs so you don't chafe. So there's no chafing, no sweating. You got this pouch that nestles your goods the way it's supposed to. Let me just tell you something. You guys alone, if you guys order some of these at checkout, 25% discount when you enter in Bruce Rivers in the code, in the promo code. You have a 30-day guarantee, so if you don't like it within 30 days, you can send it back and get a full refund, but that isn't going to happen. To go online and go on the link down below to 25% off, and you'll love them. Step 1, get some.
There would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that.
Chief Justice's opinion in Marbury against Madison and our constitutional tradition and the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause all clearly presuppose that what the founders were concerned about was not.
I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
So your answer is
no. My answer is qualified yes. There's a political process that would have to occur under the structure of our Constitution, which requires.
There's no law that says that. There is absolutely no law that says a sitting president is immune from prosecution unless he's impeached first. I mean, how ridiculous does that sound? You know, whenever a justice in the Court of Appeals interrupts you and says no, you know, you can tell you're not winning the argument.
Require impeachment and conviction by the Senate. In these exceptional cases, as the OLC memo itself points out from the Department of Justice, you'd expect a speedy impeachment and conviction. But what the founders were much more worried about than using criminal prosecution to discipline presidents was what James Madison calls in Federalist number 47, the newfangled and artificial treasons. They were much more concerned about the abuse of the criminal process for political purposes to disable the presidency from.
So think about that statement. And think about the question that the judge asked. They were more worried about using the criminal process in a political context, but you could use a criminal act to further your own political end, and you wouldn't get prosecuted if you weren't impeached. Does that make any fucking sense whatsoever? Why did Nixon have to be pardoned then? Why was it necessary to pardon Nixon for? So here's what's going to happen. This is my prediction. You're going to have a situation where they're going to give you an opinion on this case fairly quickly. Then Trump's people are, and normally you don't get an interlocutory appeal as a defendant, but Trump's people are going to appeal to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to not hear the case. That would be my guess. They're not going to come down and rescue him, not like Elena Habba. And Elena Habba is in a little bit of hot water because she made some pretty reckless statements, that, well, we put him on the bench, meaning Kavanaugh, and he's going to come through for us. Give me a fucking break. How would you say that? You can't say that stuff as a lawyer. We have ethical rules that we need to adhere to. But so if this pans out like I think it's going to, and the U.S. Supreme Court does not hear that argument about immunity, then the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals decision becomes the law of the case, and then they're back on for trial, which I believe is March 4th, and so there might be a little bit of a delay, but there's still plenty of time to get that going.
From factions and political opponents. And of course, that's exactly what we see in this case.
I've asked you a series of hypotheticals about criminal actions that could be taken by a president and could be considered official acts. And I've asked you, would such a president be subject to criminal prosecution if he's not impeached or convicted?
Requirement.
And your answer, your yes or no answer is no.
I believe I said qualified yes if he's impeached and convicted first. We may be saying the same thing.
See, that is just dancing around what the judge said, and you just don't want to do that.
Okay, so he's not impeached or convicted. Let's put that aside. You're saying a president could sell pardons, could sell military secrets, could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival.
Sale of military secrets strikes me as something that might not be held to be an official act. The sale of pardons is something that's come up historically and was not prosecuted.
But your brief says that communicating with an executive branch agency is an official act, and communicating with a foreign government is an official act. That's what presidents do.
They're very strong situated. Those are very strong.
So you can tell by the tenor of the questions that they're just not buying it. And so you know damn well that that circuit is not going to rule that he's immune, it was such a bad precedent because then a president could do whatever the hell he wants. You could suspend the Constitution. You could be president for life, and that just isn't going to happen. All right, so let's talk about what happened in Georgia last week. So now 4 people have pled guilty, and part of that didn't happen last week, but it happened last fall in October, I believe. In the election interference case, 4 people have pled guilty, and as part of their plea agreements, they have agreed to testify on behalf of the government. Trump is facing 13 charges in Georgia. Now, what's going on there is there's some allegation that they're raising about Letitia James and one of the lawyers and billing and going on trips and a romantic, thing going on. That, in all honesty, that's just smoke and mirrors. Why is that smoke and mirrors? Well, it is smoke and mirrors because it really has nothing to do with the facts of the case. I mean, the guy supposedly, and I saw this on one of the interviews, supposedly the guy that she's with has billed, 24 hours in a day and has billed over $600,000. I don't know if he must be an outside lawyer because otherwise why would you be billing the county for the time that you're there? But nobody works 24 hours in a day. And that's so easy to prove. So really, that's going to be more of a political embarrassment for Fani Willis. And so that who knows what's going to happen there. And really, when you think about it, how stupid of her to do this. I mean, what an unforced error. Because you've got the highest profile case that you'll ever have, right? And to put yourself in a position where all of a sudden your integrity is questioned, the integrity of your staff is, who's working for you is questioned, and it's mired down by a romantic affair or, relationship or whatever. Now, people all the time, work together, fuck together, whatever. That's common. But when you're the boss and you're in charge of paying people and you endorse somebody working 24 hours in a fucking day, it's just bad form. And the issue isn't that she's hired people to do this or that. The issue is that she's having a relationship with one of them and they're using government funds to go on trips, this and that. I don't know how much this is true or not true, but we'll find out more once we have that hearing in front of the judge. And I don't mean to minimize it, because if it is public malfeasance, it is what it is. But it's not going to derail the trial. The allegation by the Trump team is that he's not qualified. He's billed over $650,000 and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what difference does it make if he's qualified or not qualified? If he's not qualified, fuck, I'd want that guy on the other side because I'd kick his ass. But it's just smoke and mirrors because it really has nothing to do with the underlying facts of the case. And that's what they do constantly. And anything they can do to delay. And lastly, let's get into the Florida document case. In the Florida document case, they filed a motion to compel. There's some haggling or wrangling about the Trump team wants to get access to certain documents. And so they're really kind of commiserating over discovery. And Judge Cannon in that case has denied Jack Smith's motion to compel. And really they're compelling defense on their advice of counsel defense. They want them to disclose, and she says it's just too early. So, which is fine. As things get going, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, that case is he's going to try to rely on advice of counsel. That's going to be a double-edged sword because one of the things you have to do when you rely on advice of counsel defense is you have to waive the privilege. You have to waive attorney-client privilege. And so, guess what? He had more than one fucking lawyer. You waive the privilege with one, you're going to waive it with all. Pat Cipollone, I mean, you've seen his statements. He said, you're going to do that? Well, you better get a good fucking criminal defense lawyer. That's what he told one of the staff members. So you're gonna see that if they rely on advice of counsel, there's other lawyers that are gonna say, no, we told him this. You cannot, in good faith, just go by what people are saying. You have to reasonably believe it. You can't just go shop for the answer that you're looking for. And then, oh, I've got somebody that will say what I want him to say. And that appears what Trump has done in this case. So this has just been our update on Trump. He's got so much shit going on. Honestly, he's got money going out the door, and more lawyers are going to drop out. You watch. There are going to be all kinds of lawyers who are going to come and go, and because he's just an awful person to even think about working with. When somebody's going through lawyers like water, that means that the client is extremely difficult. The people are probably not getting paid, and the client only wants to hear what he wants to hear, and that is Trump. He wants to hear what he wants to hear. He doesn't want bad news. I want to do what I want to do. And finally, people say, well, fuck this. I can't do this anymore. I can't do what you are asking me to do. It's unethical. It's illegal. And I just can't do it. Or I can't put up with you anymore because you're a fucking asshole and you're not paying me and I got other things I can do. Difficult clients are so taxing, especially when you got all this shit, 91 counts that he's indicted with. He's got civil cases up the ass. He's being sued by Capitol Police who were there on January 6th. He's being sued by Gene Carroll. He's being sued on this Ponzi scheme or this multi-level marketing thing for these telephones. Nobody's even talking about that because it's kind of a who gives a shit in a sense because, it was just a scam that Don Jr. and the Trump organization created. They've been banned from philanthropy in New York because they were using their own foundation as their own piggy bank. They've got 4 criminal cases. One in New York, one in D.C., one in Florida, and one in Georgia. If I had a client that was looking at all that, I'd probably do something to try to do a global resolution. But he's not going to take any kind of deal. And when Trump talks, you heard him talk on the steps. I take this as a badge of honor because if they're doing it to me, they could do it to you. And I'm fighting the fight, blah, blah, fucking blah. He has put himself in each one of these positions. Just on the Gene Carroll case alone, all he had to do was shut the fuck up. That's all he had to do. Now he has given her the ability to fuck with him again. And the only issue there is damages. It would be nice to have a client like this if they paid you on a regular basis because, clients that are in trouble and have a lot of money, great. But he's a pain in the ass and he doesn't pay his people. And you're going to see people jumping this way or jumping that way. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, along with our content genius, Michael Rivers. We'll see you next time.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God?